Welcome to the podcast today. We have the pleasure of having Neri Bluman on the show with us today. He's from HubSpot. He originally founded a company or was a co-founder on the company, Xfunnel, and it was recently acquired by HubSpot. He's doing AI engine optimization, obviously so critical today with everything going on. So I wanted to bring him on the show and talk a little bit about how this works, right? I think a lot of people are familiar with apps or with optimizing search engine results on Google, but we're in a different paradigm. Things have completely shifted, and the way that people find answers are completely different. I actually saw some wild statistics on TechCrunch about this today, so I'll bring that all into it. But before we do, Neri, tell us a little bit about your background and what got you into founding Xfunnel. What was your guys' inspiration for this?
Yeah, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Always like talking to fellow entrepreneurs and in places that promotes great technology. So I thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm originally from Israel. I've been in startups my entire life. In the past 15 years. Always looking for high pace. Always looking for what's next in technology. Yeah, I was wrapping up my previous startup, and I was talking to one of the best people I know and one of my closest friends, Barry, who became my co-founder, and we worked previously in a different company. We always have this, one eye looking at the future and what is going to happen when a technology is going to disrupt something that we're all very familiar with. And I think what we get the kick out of, it's like, what is an industry that didn't move much? There wasn't any innovation in the past 10, 20 years. And, let's see how a new technology really disrupted. We had a few ideas on the go-to-market side, which both Barry and I are pretty familiar with. I know now it sounds pretty obvious, but we had this realization that AI brought us many, many good things. 2 years ago, I started to notice that I haven't been in Google for a while. It's been like something that I'm an early adopter and I love technology. So I knew that if I'm not in Google at all, which I love Google and I love information and I love data, something shifted. And it wasn't just for I want to plan my trip or I want to plan my next dinner or let me know what's the best thing to do in Barcelona. It was more about actual research questions. I wanted to know what's the best computer to buy, what's the best bed. That was a real example. I want to buy the best bed for my specific situation. And I went into it and I started to notice that at some point, the AI started to give me not just random and general information, but actually answers about specific companies. That was a big aha moment for us. And then obviously this is very clear now that everybody are looking for everything on AI. But the idea is that we change the communication style with AI, and AI fundamentally is a different technology. So we need to understand how this works. What's the engine that fuels this machine? So we started to dive into the technology. We understood that there is got to be something very interesting here. So Barry and I, both of us are previous entrepreneurs. The first thing that we do is let's find a lot of people to talk to that are very interesting. So we started to talk to, we have quite a large network of C-suite and marketers. So we started to actually vibe code a little thing. Both of us are not engineers. So we started to vibe code this tool that helps you understand your performance on AI. Meaning, let's say you are this, for my previous example, you're this mattress company that you want to understand. Now, when Neri went through his exercise of let's understand what's the best mattress now in the market, why and how often the AI recommends my mattress as an option.
And this is basically what AI engine optimization is, right? Answer engine optimization. It's kind of shifting from ranking in Google to ranking in ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. And we're moving from Google to this thing, which is AI search or whatever name we have for it. And now we need to understand, instead of going to those blue links that we all are very familiar with, we are going into a depth of this conversation that is very personalized to me. And we want to know when the AI promotes a specific company, a specific brand, when I'm getting my brand as an option for a customer to buy from.
100%. And I think you guys were very early on this entire trend. There's an article that came out 5 hours ago on TechCrunch that says AI traffic to US retailers rose 393% in Q1, and it's boosting the revenue too. So you guys obviously identified this trend a couple years ago when you're seeing kind of personally the direction it was moving in. I mean, now, it's on TechCrunch, it's on, everybody's talking about it. What did the product look like when you guys first kind of attacked this issue? I mean, I know you're kind of like vibe coding at the beginning. So what did your product look like, and how has it evolved to where it's at today?
So I think the foundations, and we'll talk about why we were very excited about the opportunity with HubSpot, and was very early on that we recognized that there is a very interesting opportunity down the road. But the base of AEO is about AI LLMs are statistical models, meaning that when I ask a question, I will get an answer. And when I ask the question in 5 minutes or in 10 hours or tomorrow, I will get a different answer. Once we understood that is very different than SEO, because SEO is a deterministic model that basically when I go to Google, I will write the same phrase, best CRM software. I will get the same 10 blue links over and over. I don't need that statistical capability. We understood that the foundation of AEO is about statistical significance, meaning let's ask as many questions as many times, get the responses back, and start to analyze it based on big numbers. And so the foundations was always the same. Let's decide what prompts we want to ask, which is a significant part of our business. Understanding what prompts we want to analyze, and this is why HubSpot is such a strong force in that, and we'll get to it in a second. And then ask them as many times as you can and get those answers and analyze the answers that you're getting from the LLMs. So as an example, going to the mattress example, if I asked the question that I specifically asked the LLM back in the day was, I am 36 years old, I have a little bit of lower back issues, I'm living in Spain, what is the best mattress for me? Now, when you think about a question like that, this is never going to be a question that you write in Google, right? This is 40-something words. The average, I think now, is like north to 40 words. Yeah, and the average on Google is 4.5 words per question. But that's not even it. You have such a long history for me as a context in my LLM that it knows so much about me that there is no comparison to the answer that I get, which is very personalized. So this is a question that I asked, and I got a list of 5 mattresses. And guess what? When we ran this experiment and we went and we asked this question over and over and over, we got different answers. Sometimes they were very different. Sometimes they were a little bit different with different types of companies. So with that realization, and this is the core product, we want to give companies a very clear view on their LLM performance, meaning that when your CEO or when your board of directors or your CMO ask you where are we at the moment, like what is our performance at the moment, you'll have an answer for. So you can say that for this specific segments, those are our performances. So this was the core product. And then we moved on to the next question, which is always interesting. And I think now we're living in a world of outcomes. What do we do with this information? We understood that the idea of cracking this like LLM code of why the LLM recommended a specific brand lies into 2 components. The first one is the base LLM, the model that runs in the background of a specific LLM, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude. And the second thing is the sources that they use to base their answer on. And we all are familiar with when you ask ChatGPT, what is X? They will run and they will give you a lot of sources, citations. And that is what the LLM is basing their answer on. And we understood that in order for us to understand how to improve the performance of a specific brand, we need to dive into the citations.
So you would look at, were you trying to reverse engineer basically like what citations ChatGPT was pulling up? Why are they coming up with these? Go look at those websites and then decide what was kind of its source for information?
Correct. This is the second major component of AEO, of good AEO, is to dive really deep into the citations. And again, we're talking large numbers. If a specific company tracks 100, 200, 300 prompts, and you're getting results for 3 engines, let's say per day. So you're talking about 300 responses every day with an average of between 5 to 15 citations per response. We're talking about large data, big data that we have to analyze very specifically for each company and give them very detailed information. Where do the LLM go when it search for an answer? And the answer is very different between industries, between LLMs, between ICPs, between different personas. And we want to give them this answer and to digest it to the best, to something that they can actually work with. So if I know that for an SMB technology company, we can tell them that 8 or 10% of the citations that the LLM brings for their 100 prompts are PR outlets, we can tell them that this is the direction that we'll take as a strategy for them to improve their performances. So this is we're getting to the last part, which is let's analyze the citations, and we are able to recommend the specific actions that you need to take in order to improve your brand visibility, in order to improve your ranking. It depends on your KPIs, but this is the last part. So we help you measure, we help you understand the citations and what the LLM is actually basing their response on, and then we help you translate it to recommendations. And the last piece, which we're very excited about, the collaboration working with HubSpot. And
I was going to ask, like, how did that come to be? I mean, this is obviously, in retrospect, it's like, oh yeah, this is a no-brainer. But like, you guys obviously were a couple of years ahead on the curve, figuring out the need. We're all seeing it today. What did the company look like? You start working on this, you put it out.
Yeah.
Was there adoption by users? How did you get in contact with HubSpot? Tell us about this.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll put a pin in it, because this is like, I'm getting excited, because this is where we are getting like really into we don't want to give you just an analytics tool. This is not what we came here to do. We want to give you actions. We want to give you an ability to really acting on this, and we'll get to how we do it at HubSpot. But so we started a company. What we know how to do as entrepreneurs is to get good customers and to really work with them very fast. So we started to get a lot of tractions from really interesting companies, strong marketing teams. And the idea for us was always the initial customers. We are not going to go for scale. We're not going to go for revenue, although we charge from day one. We're going to go for those customers that will allow us to learn with them what is AEO, because it's new. It's very new. And the way to learn, and I think that was one of the best things that we did from day one, was to see who are those marketing teams that are at the forefront of this technology and the forefront of everything. One of them was obviously HubSpot, and start to collaborate with them. Really, like, we gave them the tools, we have the know-how, we know what to measure. But really, when you work with such an advanced team, you also start to learn what they're doing with the information that you give them. And once you close that loop, all of a sudden you have proprietary data that is very unique to our efforts, and it's very unique to AEO, because AEO, that just a reminder, it doesn't exist, right? We made it up. So we literally found out that these things exist, and now we're going to write a playbook, and this playbook worth a ton. This is priceless for the next customer that is coming, and now we have this, and we know what to do with it. So we started to work with HubSpot as a customer, super strong team. We really had a lot of fun working with them. They were probably 50% of our data was belonged to HubSpot and how they use the system, and tens of thousands of prompts that they had a lot of interest. And I think the latest was that they increased their AI visibility by like 400% in the past year. So they really went all in on this. And we started to work with them as customers. They connected us to a corp dev department, and we started to work with them on just deeper collaboration. They invested in a company, and then we started conversations about an acquisition. It happened pretty fast. And from day one, we just understood that Barry and I were talking about it, like, where is it all going to go? Because AEO, we really believe that it's important. It's something big. It's something that we all need to know. But there are companies in the world that will take us to a different level. Like, they will take us to really what to do next. And HubSpot is one of those companies that has the scale and the customers that you can build such a tool. And then also they have the what's next, like the so what. All right. So once I gave you all of this information, once I gave you all those recommendations of what to do, HubSpot has all the tools to continue and act on it. So there was two very interesting parts that we really wanted to dive deeper. It's how you integrate all of the CRM data and what HubSpot already have. It's that scale of 300,000 customers of CRM data, and help customers that has specific needs to act on what AEO means. And this is exactly what we're doing now, is to take what HubSpot have in their backend, which is 20 years of wonderful data that they're sitting on. And then also they have all the tools that will allow people to actually take the actions and improve their AI visibility moving forward.
I love this. And it's actually kind of funny because my background is in marketing. I used to teach advanced digital marketing at university. So like I did, SEO for many, many years. And the funny thing for me is that I always noticed one of the very best SEO example companies from the past was HubSpot. Like I remember reading like HubSpot case studies. I would analyze their like landing pages on how they were doing stuff because they would just crush it in so many SEO areas. So no shocker that they were, they saw what was happening and they wanted to jump on this right away with answer engine optimization. So, I mean, I think this is a phenomenal decision to kind of partner with someone that's obviously very forward thinking in that they have, this huge marketing company that's going to be able to bring it to such a high level. What I'm curious about is, when someone comes in today, they're actually not having to be a HubSpot customer to use your product. And this is very, I would say, not typical for HubSpot or most software acquisitions. Tell me like how that process works, like how that decision was made. Like, I'm just so curious about that.
Yes, so that's super interesting. This is one of my favorite parts that really happened in the past couple of months, is that we started by, I think, as a very traditional play. So we have HubSpot customers, so Marketing Hub, the core product of HubSpot, and how to develop the AEO tool for Marketing Hub customers, which is very natural. But we also, and I think this is where we're coming to this change of perspective in the market on what is going to be our day-to-day job in the era of AI, in the era of agentic AI, in the era of, we have a lot of tools now that we can really put into use. And I think this is a shift that I also was very impressed to see at HubSpot, because it's a big company, right? I was also like cautious. I'm coming from 15 years of startups, and I'm getting into a big company. And I remember talking to Yamini, and I asked, like, is this a company that can run fast? And they told me, this is what we want to do. Like, we're doing it here. You're going to break some walls and you're going to run fast. And I think what we're seeing now, and it's very interesting, that there is a shift that I think a lot of companies are taking. I'm very proud that this is what we're seeing at HubSpot as well, that we understand that the technology was changing both on how we look at the market. So AEO is literally analyzing behavior from LLMs, but we also have this huge bucket of tooling that we're starting to use, starting with vibe coding or agents and everything that we can harness to our power to actually start to really be like 10x, 20x who we are to begin with. So I think what we started to see is that, okay, we have those Marketing Hub customers that are they definitely need AEO. They will get this tool. It's an amazing tool. There's huge adoption, and I can run through some examples that we have. But also, we're very curious about those customers that maybe they're not yet HubSpot customers. They don't have this CRM integration. They don't use us, and this could be big players and small players. It can be everything that you have, but it's also about the persona. It might not be the same persona that we targeted in our previous cycles, because now when a CMO or a CEO or in whatever level you are, you all of a sudden have so many tools that you didn't have previously. For example, like Claude Cowork, that you can connect to everything in the company, and all of a sudden this is such a powerful tool that we thought, okay, that if we believe that this is the future, that everyone in the company, there is like a democratization of data, a democratization of tools, is going to be a converging of roles in the company, we want to give this opportunity of AEO to everyone that cares about what to track for their company. We want that every company will have the opportunity to understand their performance as an AEO. And we think that by using the AEO, by using our AEO tool, also then understand the capabilities that they can have with HubSpot and how to move forward with that. That's a very interesting play on our end that we want to see how people are adopting new tools. And we have a lot of new tools and a lot of agentic capabilities at HubSpot now that we're very curious to see how this going to play out when people will start using it, people will start to get introduced to those capabilities slowly. So we're very passionate about it.
That was a very great strategy, right? Because essentially it's like a lead magnet almost for HubSpot, right? I mean, this is an amazing tool. It's literally gold for anyone today that's trying to rank in ChatGPT. And like the statistic I showed from TechCrunch, like that is a massive jump in retailer revenue is starting to come from that. So it's literal gold. Yeah, I love that. That's a brilliant lead gen for HubSpot. And yet I still think there's a lot of software companies that do that backwards. They're like, okay, we acquired the company. It's a super golden nugget, but you got to pay for like all of our stuff to get it just for like that one piece. I like how you guys flipped that. And hopefully, yeah, they find the whole HubSpot ecosystem and they jump in there. Okay, the thing that I'm really curious about as well, though, so right now, you guys are tracking, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Claude. There's a bunch of models. And I'm assuming, I mean, you tell me, you're the expert, but I'm assuming that each engine, the way that they surface information is pretty different. So like, how do your recommendations work if someone's like, what's the best orthodontist in Detroit, right? Whatever they're trying to track. How do you do your recommendations when you have to look at all of those different AI models and the responses?
Yeah, so this is a very good question. I think I will be humble and say, although we are very much at the forefront of AEO and XFunnel, really not to brag, we were one of the 2 players in the market that started with that, and I think we're very advanced in our thinking. There is so much that we're still developing, and it's still going to be very interesting to discover. And I think this is one of those things. Yes, we differentiate definitely between LLMs. Currently, we're tracking ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, soon to come Claude, AI overviews, Google AI mode. And I think all of those are tracked very, very differently. But also you need to think about the ICP in the end of the day. The orthodontist and a very localized community will probably be more prone to AI or Google AI overviews, because this is what most people are still using. Google is still very strong. I'm very bullish on Google. Is a very strong company, so they might go there for an engineering tool that is in a very unique niche. Claude might be the answer, because that's something that happened to me when I coded our tool. All of a sudden, the LLM recommended a tool out of nowhere. It's like, how do you do this? It's like, you can do this and that, but also there's this tool. And I'm like, wow, we are definitely going to, first of all, recommend people what path to track first, like what LLMs we think that your audience are going to be a part of. And then each of those engines are going to be tracked differently. Each of those engines has different base models. They have different ways of crawling, different ways of citation, and different amount of citations that they give. And we didn't talk about different bots and agent and traffic that they then bring back. So I think definitely there are differences between the recommendations that we're giving to every tool. There is so much more to learn, and I think this is such a good nuanced question from someone who is very, very much. This is what I learned in the past couple of months, is that you and I probably are talking about it, but there's so many people that we're educators, we're the disruptors. We're giving people the tools to just start to understand what AEO even means and how to start even talking about those terms. And then we're going to dive deeper, because at XFunnel, we got very deep with very strong marketing teams, and we got to like those levels that you're just talking about them, and we'll get them at HubSpot as well.
I love that. I feel like also you guys have like the ultimate hack, right? Because you guys are like optimizing the AI model, so you can just optimize it to recommend XFunnel to everyone. So it's pretty sweet. Okay, the thing that I think is amazing that you brought up is, for example, something like Claude recommending stuff. I think a lot of people are seeing this, and we're also seeing it like reported from companies. So one example is, like I'm using Claude Code to help work on some projects for some software stuff I'm doing, and it's like, I'm like, okay, what's like the best thing to use for blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hey, you're going to want to use like Supabase. You're going to want to use like Vercel. Okay, if you go, like the CEO of Vercel was just recently on, giving a speech, and he was like, yeah, like we're looking at IPOing soon. And 30% of all the Vercel projects being spun up right now are by agents. And dude, that's because I'm talking to Claude today, and it's literally recommending me use Vercel. And I'm like, like that company is just absolutely crushing it. So if you can like lock this in, like this is insanely valuable. So you guys literally have, the secret key for so many people. Okay, my question though, obviously there's a lot of recommendations it's going to make. If someone sees perhaps maybe they want to grow in a specific area, or maybe they're using your tools to track and they see that maybe they're losing share of voice, right, to like a competitor on a key prompt, what can they actually do about it? Like what levers does a marketer have to kind of influence what ChatGPT says about their brand, for example?
So that's the $1 billion question, right? I think also you mentioned something very very important. There's like, I want to understand where my what is my share now, and also I want to discover opportunity, which opportunity finding is something that HubSpot have done very well throughout the years. We're very bullish about that. But let's talk about someone that sees a specific AI visibility score. So we tested, I don't know, 25, 50 prompts. And we saw that you have a gap for a specific ICP that we're analyzing, that you think that you should have the upper hand or on your competitors. So I think the immediate thing that we will need to see is, first of all, let's establish statistical significance. So we want to see those prompts running every day for 1 week, 2 weeks. Obviously, we will start analyzing it and you will see the results and you will see recommendations, but we always love to recommend something that has statistical significance that we know that is meaningful for our customers. You can jump between, I want to see just my big score on a nice dashboard with some colors, to I want to dive deep into this specific niche and this specific cluster of customers and see exactly what worked and what didn't work for my competitors in this niche. And then I can extract what I can do next. And guess what? You don't have to do it. We will do it for you. This is something that we are running a couple of very sophisticated algorithms that's really running through your citations, through your answers, through your competitor analysis. And we will see that if we discovered something that's worth mentioning, for example, that we know that for the specific ICP, for the specific customer profile, we saw that what's working here is specifically Reddit, something that happens all the time. It happened to us when we were like 4 months, 5 months into XFunnel, and we discovered that everyone, they had a bunch of deals with Reddit. Everyone started to really base their answers on Reddit. And it's not just Reddit, it's specific threads and specific social listening that you need to do to your specific ICP and brand and product. And we will give you what exactly the threads that the AI surfaced. And we will also tell you, this is what we see that will be a recommended action for you on this specific path. This is one genre of recommendation that can translate to about 16 different types of recommendations for every specific type of content and source type. For example, if we'll see that specific listicles that you can write for your own brand on your own blog, we will recommend how to write it, where to write it, and exactly what words to use that we saw that work for other competitors, so you can increase your AI visibility.
Absolutely love it. I mean, it's perfect because it does the analysis, but then it also tells you the action steps. No idea. And maybe people listening are curious. So I'll just ask it anyways. Do you guys do any sort of take actions for the customer? Or is that something in the future, or more of giving recommendations for them to take in some way?
Yeah. So this is the $2 billion question. Now they're asking. This is great. I think this is amazing, because obviously this is where we're now in the world, right? We're moving from this, let's say, I'm taking the action to I'm building a workflow to take the action, which that was like until 2 years ago or 1 year ago what we've built. And now we're moving into agentic workflows that we actually empowering this robust system to take actions on my behalf. And this is specifically why we are very excited about working on it inside of HubSpot. Because when you think about agentic workflows, what you really want is for those agents, which is a big word, but let's say this is something that will take the next action upon what they think it's the best action to take. Let's say very, very simple example. We decided that we want to increase our brand visibility by 10% by next quarter. What we're building now is an agent that is not just going to have this, okay, I have this idea, I'm going to write a blog post and I'm going to post it. It's going to be a waterfall of actions of this agent operating different agents. One of them we're going to check the AEO, one of them will check different types of social listening, SEO, things like that. And then after they finish it, they will take the recommendations, then they will start acting on your behalf. And if you've seen what was the main thing on stage, Inbound, the big conference from HubSpot, we're going to create a loop. And loop is a big word that we're really, really focused now at HubSpot, which is basically when I started to this agent work, that when and track what do we need to discover, how can we change it, what is the recommendation, let's start taking action on it. Then after I took the action, I'm going to measure what it is that I change and see if I change it, and then start to iterate on that. What I just described to you, this is an automated workflow that an agent can take on their own because they understood our KPI, which is increasing 10% brand visibility. Once you have this loop and you are happy about this loop, this is where we're getting super powerful with HubSpot's tool, because as you can imagine, we have all the CRM data that you can then generate a lot of really, really good prompts with your customers actually asking. You can take them and translate into prompts, and then you can really track them with the AEO tool, write blogs, write social blogs, write social comments, write listicles, and then post them on our CMS tool, and then track it back down to see if that loop specifically worked. And this is so powerful, and we're very excited. It's still in process. It's in private beta. We're going to release it throughout the year, but this is definitely the future.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I obviously can see why HubSpot would want to acquire you. I mean, because you had the piece where you were doing the analysis, you're getting the data, then they just pull it in where they can help with the fulfillment. You build the loop, it's all automated. I mean, yeah, this is incredible. Just like a technical question on how it works, probably if anyone's listening and interested in implementing something like this, do you, like, let's say it's going to make blog posts. What's the connection? Like, let's say does someone need to have their blog post being managed by HubSpot, or does it integrate with something like WordPress or like?
Not necessarily. Yeah. We can integrate to other systems. You can also download it. You can also track the loop back by posting your own blog, taking this URL, put it back into the AEO tool, and that will keep tracking. We obviously love to see this entire closed circle, but you can do it very much technically on any other CMS.
I am super stoked for what you guys are building. For anyone listening, how do they? I mean, how would they find this? How would they use this tool?
Yeah, very easy. HubSpot/AEO. So go there, see everything. It's a really cool website. We build a very interesting and easy onboarding because we really believe that this is what we want to do. Take this tool, try it for a month, see how you feel about it. We try to bring the best capabilities for you to really try it out. And then if you feel that it's good, you can just buy this tool for $50. So we are trying to build confidence for people with this tool, and then start to building it up from there. So by all means, try it out. Let me know what you think. I'm active on all the platforms, so I'm very happy to take calls, and with everyone I want to discuss this topic. So happy to do it.
Amazing. And like, not sponsored in any way, but $50, that sounds really cheap for the capabilities you just explained. So sounds like you guys have an awesome value proposition there. All right, Neri, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast today. I guess if you were to leave the listeners with one last piece of advice when it comes to marketing and growing, maybe something that they need to do before, during, or after part of this process, what's your final parting advice that you'd give to people working on marketing today?
Oh, this is very interesting. I think this is the time to build your own stuff, whether it's like a small dashboard for your own use or even for your home, I don't know, use. Just go and build now. This is the best time to build stuff. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a designer. I am a curious person. And what I like is to just sit in front of something and, talk to a machine and see it's building everything that I want. So I think this is my advice. Start building, start being curious about this new technology, and it's really amazing.
Amazing. I love it. Phenomenal advice. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a rating and review wherever you get your podcast. We'll leave a link in the show notes to everything Neri was talking about, so you can go down there and check it out. We'll catch you guys all in the next episode.